the who I ride for and why I ride are kind of interlinked. Back in 2008, I was doing an awful lot of mountain biking around Edmonton here, and I got to the point where I was doing some longer rides, some road rides that were pushing, 100 miles or even 200 kilometers. So I was out for the big challenges at that point. I thought, well, I haven't done one of these charity rides yet, and that would be a good challenge, I think. Do it back to back for a couple days. Next challenge. And I'd heard about this new one that was starting up in 2009 called the Ride to Conquer Cancer. And it sounded really interesting. Foothills of the Rocky Mountains, good fundraiser, good cause. And then I got to the sudden stop of the minimum for fundraising. I went, I've never done a charity ride before. I don't know if I can raise that much. I don't know if I can raise $500, let alone $2,500. So it caught me a little off guard, and I kind of shuffled it to the back of my mind for a little bit, thinking, well, we'll see. And then in the fall of 2008, one of my coworkers was away a fair bit, and it was later shared that he had been diagnosed with cancer. His brother had passed away from colon cancer about 5 years previous, and he started not feeling well. And when they did some tests, they found he had colon cancer, and it was already in stage 4. And that wasn't widely spread, but it was shared that he was taking part in some trials. He was trying to fight it, but it was fairly progressed, and they were a little concerned for him, and rightly so. He put up a good fight, but in November 2008, he succumbed to his illness. He succumbed to the cancer, and that was the kick in the heartstrings. That right there said, no, this is something you have to do. You know about the ride. You know what it's for. It's touched you directly. This is your mentor. This is a friend. This is someone who didn't really get a chance to even have much of a retirement. He was still actively working at 70, or just about 70. And so that was the kick in the shorts I needed to say, okay, this is the charity ride I'm going to take on in 2009. So that's what I did. I talked to my friend Dominique's widow, and she was 100% for it. So that year I dedicated my ride to Dominique. And he was the reason for my ride and why I rode that year. It was a really powerful ride, because I found out that the part of that route in 2009 down Highway 22 here in Alberta was actually part of the same route that Dominique took on one of his last trips to go visit family. So double shot to the heartstrings there. But once I started reaching out, I realized just how big of a network I had, and how many friends I shared with Dominique, and how many folks wanted to do something so they weren't losing more friends. So the fundraising that I thought would be such a big deal, not a problem. I actually raised something like 2 or 3 times the amount. Dominique is where I started. And then, continuing has been kind of surprising. The first couple years, it was Dominique. It was all about Dominique. But then I started looking around at my circle of friends and said, look, I actually have a lot of people I know who have been impacted by cancer in their lifetimes. We had friends of the family, we had friends of ours, co-workers, family. It's been an awful lot of people. And when I've dedicated my ride, it struck me the first year I was doing it for someone other than Dominique, because I had to choose. There were that many people I knew who had fought cancer, or had succumbed to cancer, or had a family member who's gotten that diagnosis. And it's been all sorts of people ever since. I've had, Dominique was 70. I've had family members. I've had the neighbor's then not even 2-year-old daughter who had a very aggressive brain tumor. And each and every one of them, friends that I've volunteered with, they have become part of why I ride, who I ride for, because it doesn't matter what your walk of life, cancer affects everybody. And that's why I ride. It's for those who have fought and lost, for those who are fighting now, for those who may hear those horrible words, you have cancer in the future. What they go through is atrocious. My neighbor's 2-year-old daughter, she's not 2 anymore, of course, it's a few years ago, to see her running around the street, you'd hardly know. So if I can get on my bike and pedal my not-so-svelte butt around the foothills of the Rocky Mountains, raise some funds and make a difference for any one of them, I will.